heartwarming revelation. After 30 years of sacrifice, Mom discovers incredible truth about family. In a small Ohio town, where the streets were lined with old maple trees and the smell of fresh pie from Dottie's diner wafted through the air, Sarah Thompson felt her heart race as she pulled out a crumpled, yellowed envelope from the mailbox, a letter from the father she never knew. The moment sent chills down her spine. A mix of disbelief and trepidation settled in. For years, she had sacrificed everything to raise her kids, Jake and Lily, in a house crammed with mismatched furniture and overflowing bills. Her heart ached for them to have the world she never did. And now, suddenly, was there a flicker of hope in that envelope? Every morning felt like a battle. Sarah donned her faded apron, slipping into the routine of pouring coffee, taking orders, and wiping down tables at the diner. But tucked beneath that apron lay dreams long buried, dreams that rightfully belonged to her children. She adorned the diner's walls with their art, crayon drawings of superheroes and rainbows. In those drawings, she sought solace and strength, each stroke a reminder of love amidst chaos. They laughed and bickered over dinner, finding joy in what little they had. Yet wherever there was laughter, Sarah felt an ever-present undercurrent, a fear that gnawed at her. Was her love enough to shield them from judgment? Did the world see beyond their worn-out shoes and frayed clothes to the brilliance and potential buried within them? When Mrs. Thompson, her dear neighbor and lifeline, fell ill, the community banded together, bringing meals and offering support. In that unity, Sarah began to see what had been missing all these years, a community wrapped around them like a warm blanket. But as she leaned into that hope, she discovered the letter waiting for her. It felt like a punch to her gut. "Your father left you an inheritance," it started. The words echoed around her, filling her with an unfamiliar mix of anger and confusion. This was a man whose absence had always cast a shadow on her life. The letter was a bright, glaring reminder of everything she'd missed and all the questions that lingered. Could a man who served his country while abandoning his family truly be a hero? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Setting the letter down, Sarah felt the weight of her father's choices wash over her. Could she trust the legacy of a man whose actions spoke of betrayal? Across the room, Jake's voice broke her reverie. "Mom, are we really going to use that money to help others?" His confusion mirrored her own. Was she sacrificing their stability for the sake of others in need? As tears threatened to spill, Sarah found herself teetering at a crossroads. Would this newfound fortune mean a shot at the dream she fought so hard for? Or would it lead her back to the roots of hurt and empty promises? Clutching the letter tighter, she hesitated, knowing that the path ahead held more than just an inheritance. It lay buried in the raw, tangled threads of forgiveness and connection, and perhaps, just perhaps, a chance at mending the past. With her heart racing, she felt the pull of an uncertain future, glimmering hope already tinctured with doubt. What would she choose? As Sarah sat at the old wooden table, the faded letter crumpled in her hands, she felt the walls of the diner closing in on her. The laughter of her children, a moment ago lively and infectious, faded to background noise. Her mind raced. What if she opened the door to her father's inheritance? What if it brought trouble instead of relief? She swallowed hard, the letter feeling heavier than a sack of potatoes. "Mom?" Jake's voice echoed gently, pulling her back from the swirling thoughts. "Are you okay?" She wiped a tear that dared to escape down her cheek. "Yeah, sweetheart, just thinking." Lily, her bright-eyed little girl, leaned closer, curiosity etched all over her face. "Are we going to be rich?" Rich. The word hung in the air like a mist. Sarah couldn't help but laugh softly. It felt so foreign. They had always valued love and support over money, yet here it was, thrust upon them when they least expected it. "Maybe," she replied, choosing her words carefully. "But it's not just about the money. There are things that matter more." "Like family?" Jake chimed in, ever wise for her years. "Yes, like family," she agreed, her heart swelling with pride. This was a moment to be real, to not just focus on what might come from her father, but what they had in front of them. "Mom," Lily's eyes sparkled, "do you think Grandpa is nice? Like a hero?" Her breath hitched. Grandpa. The word felt strange yet comforting, a tentative bridge to connect with a man she had longed to know, but only felt shrouded in resentment. "I don't know, honey. Sometimes people can surprise us," she said, sounding wiser than she felt. After dinner, when bedtime reached its inevitable conclusion, Sarah found herself standing at her window, twilight casting a purple sheen on the neighborhood. The sound of laughter from the diner drifted in, a reminder of the community that surrounded her. Could she trust them with the truth? Sharing her father's letter meant grappling with forgiveness, not just for him, but for herself. The families around her had been pillars while she wrestled with her own demons. What would they think if they knew she was considering taking money from a man who hadn't been there for her? Her thoughts were interrupted by a gentle knock at her bedroom door. It was Jake. "Can we talk?" he asked earnestly. "Of course, buddy. Come in." He settled onto the edge of her bed, his small face serious. "If you get the money, will we move? It's okay if you want to." Sarah shook her head, gentle but firm. "No, Jake, this is our home." "But what if we used some of it to help people, like Mrs. Thompson, or anyone else who needs it?" He nodded slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. "That could be good, like sharing with our friends at school?" "Yes, exactly." She felt a wave of relief wash over her. The thought of giving back, of extending kindness, lightened her heart. As they sat there discussing the possibilities, Sarah found herself at another decision point. Could this legacy be transformed into something meaningful, an opportunity to give rather than just receive? Hearing her son's infectious enthusiasm reignited a fire within her. "Mom!" Jake's sudden shout startled her. What if we could find out more about Grandpa? It might help us decide." The idea took root in her mind. What if Jake was right? Unraveling the mystery of her father could lead to healing. The words emerged from her lips before she even thought. "You know what? We'll look into it. Together." Jake's face broke into a grin. "Awesome! Can we do it tomorrow?" "Yes," she promised, a spark of excitement igniting between them. "But first, let's get some sleep." Yet, as she turned off the light, uncertainty crept back in. What truths lay hidden in that inheritance? Did she truly want to unearth the past? The flickering candle of hope mixed with the fear of what might be unveiled the next day, and how it could change everything once again. Morning sunlight streamed through the window, bathing the room in a golden glow. Sarah stirred awake, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. Today was the day they would start digging into her father's past, a man who had been a ghost in her life. She glanced over at Jake, sprawled on the bed in a tangle of blankets. His small smile seemed to suggest he was already dreaming of possibilities. Lily's voice piped up from her room just down the hall, asking for pancakes, her favorite Saturday morning treat. As she moved toward the kitchen, Sarah couldn't shake the weight of the letter, still lurking at the back of her mind. What did her father leave behind, and was it worth the journey into those uncharted waters? With the pancakes sizzling on the griddle, she felt her phone buzz on the counter. It was a text from her neighbor, Amanda. "Would love to chat today. Big news." Sarah smiled at the thought of Amanda. They'd built a bond over the years, and Amanda had always been a source of strength. Today, perhaps, she would share that she was looking into her father's story. The kitchen filled with giggles as her children rushed in, vying for the biggest pancake. She served them each with a heart full of affection, feeling warmth flow through the small moments that glimmered like morning light. "Mom, can we have chocolate chips today?" Jake's hopeful eyes sparkled. "Of course, buddy. Treat day." As she added the chips to the already sweet pancakes, she saw Jake's expression shift from glee to seriousness. "Mom, afterward, can we go look for Grandpa's stuff?" "After breakfast, we'll do our research together," she promised, locking eyes with him. Lily, still munching her pancake, chimed in. What if he has cool treasures? Her imagination was clearly running wild. "Or secrets," Jake added, a hint of mischief in his tone. Sarah chuckled, but her heart raced at the thought. Treasures, secrets, both tantalizing and daunting. After breakfast, they gathered what they needed. Jake was armed with his tablet, while Lily clutched a notebook, ready to jot down anything interesting. As they settled around the dining table, Sarah could feel a current running between them, a mixture of excitement and fear. She took a deep breath. Okay, let's start with his name and see what we can find. Hours flew by as they searched online. Articles, family trees, and old photographs populated the screen, each one revealing a piece of the puzzle. Sarah was surprised how quickly the layers of her father's life began to surface. There were records of travels, moments of joy, and stories of challenges she never knew he had faced. "Mom, look!" Jake shouted suddenly. "He was in a band?" The laughter in his voice seemed to echo through her heart. She couldn't help but smile, imagining her father as a young man filled with dreams. "Yes, I see that," she replied, excitement bubbling up. But then a shadow crossed her face as she remembered the hurt of his absence, wondering how this new information would fit into the complicated tapestry of her feelings. "Do you think he missed us?" Lily asked, her innocence cutting through the air. Sarah hesitated, her thoughts swirling. "I hope so, honey. I really do," she finally answered, trying to infuse her voice with hope, even while doubt loomed. Just then, the doorbell rang. "I'll get it," Jake yelled, hopping up from the table. A moment later, he reappeared, eyes wide. "Mom, it's Amanda." The unexpected arrival of her friend could either be a distraction or the support she needed. Would Amanda offer insights or shift the focus of the day entirely? Sarah felt a knot of anxiety form in her stomach. Whatever was about to unfold, she knew it could lead to significant changes in their lives. As Amanda stepped in, her smile was wide and welcoming, yet there was a glimmer of something else in her eyes, perhaps a hint of urgency. "Hey, you're not going to believe this," Amanda began, and Sarah felt her heart race again, knowing that the course of their day was about to change forever.
What news could her friend possibly bring? Sarah's heart raced as she watched Amanda take a deep breath, her eyes sparkling with unspoken excitement. The atmosphere in the room shifted, amplifying the buzz of anticipation. Jake and Lily, high on pancakes, peeked curiously at their mom's friend. "What is it, Amanda?" Sarah urged, her voice barely above a whisper. She could feel the weight of her father's story pressing against her, demanding to be connected with whatever news Amanda might bring. "Okay, so you know that old house on Maple Street?" Amanda began, glancing at the kids, who leaned in, wide-eyed. "The one that's been abandoned for years? They finally decided to renovate it. They found something amazing in the attic." "What did they find?" Lily jumped in, her face alight with intrigue. "A trunk filled with old letters, photographs, and some of your dad's belongings, Sarah." Amanda's tone was careful, yet filled with a thrill that beckoned them all closer. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. A trunk? Her father's belongings? The reality of what that could mean sent a shiver down her spine. "You mean he had things there? Things from when he was alive?" Amanda nodded vigorously. "Yes, they say it's packed with memories, things you might want to see. They're hosting an open house this weekend to showcase all the treasures they unearthed." Jake's eyes widened in disbelief. "Can we go, Mom? We have to see it. Grandpa's stuff to be in there." Lily bounced in her seat. "Please, Mom, I want to see his pictures." The enthusiasm from her children was infectious, but Sarah felt a wave of hesitation wash over her. She wanted to dive in, to explore this newfound glimpse into the life of a man she had spent years mourning, yet uncertainty clung to her like fog. What if it's too painful? She wondered aloud, her brow furrowing. "Sometimes we need to face things we fear the most, Sarah," Amanda replied gently, her voice full of empathy. "Your dad might have left more than just memories. He may have left messages to you to help you understand him." The idea took root in Sarah's mind. What secrets had her father hidden? What stories lay in those letters? Would it hurt, or could it bring some closure? The questions buzzed endlessly in her thoughts. As if reading her mind, Jake tugged at her hand, his small fingers seeking hers for reassurance. "We can do this together, right, Mom?" Tears prickled Sarah's eyes as she looked at her children. "Yes, together," she promised. The strength in their support made her brave. "Okay, let's go to the open house," she finally said, the decision settling in her heart like the warmth of a hug. "Let's uncover those stories." Jake and Lily cheered, their excitement palpable. But as Amanda shared more about the trunk, a chill swept through Sarah again. What if she found pieces of her father that she wasn't ready to confront?
Just remember, Amanda added, speaking softly. Whatever you uncover, you have your family right here. You'll never have to face it alone. As the conversation turned to what they might expect at the open house, Sarah gazed out the window, the sunlight gleaming faintly against her skin. It felt like a signal from the universe, urging her to take the leap. Could these forgotten remnants of the past hold the answers she craved? The clock was ticking down to a discovery that could forever change how she saw her father and herself. Yet, in the midst of excitement, doubt coursed through her. She wouldn't just be uncovering her father's history, but also piecing together her own. What if she wasn't ready for what lay buried in that trunk? The moment she had been both anticipating and dreading loomed closer. What awaited her in that old house on Maple Street? She could almost feel the weight of the trunk pressing down on her, demanding to be opened, demanding to reveal its secrets. "Are you ready for this, Sarah?" she asked herself as the day faded into evening, knowing that the next steps they took could lead to changes she never imagined. The morning of the open house arrived, bright and warm. The sun poured through the kitchen window, illuminating the breakfast table where pancakes sat uneaten, forgotten in the frenzy of anticipation and nerves. Sarah busied herself with last-minute preparations, but her mind drifted again and again to the trunk. "Mom, are you ready?" Jake's voice pulled her back to the present. He stood at the doorway, pulling on his sneakers, his face a mixture of eagerness and worry. Lily, still in her pajamas, ran into the room clutching a soft toy bear as if it were a talisman against the unknown. "Almost, buddy, just a few minutes," Sarah replied, forcing a smile. Inside, her stomach churned. This day felt like a tightrope. One misstep could lead her spiraling into memories she wasn't prepared to confront. "Look, Mom, I brought my journal." Lily plopped down on the couch, flipping it open. "I want to write things down today, about Grandpa." Watching her daughter, Sarah's heart surged with pride. Lily had a way of embracing the unknown, tackling it head-on. Maybe today could be a new chapter, not just for Sarah, but for all of them. "Okay, let's do this," she breathed out, taking a steadying breath. She grabbed her purse, and with one last glance around the house, they stepped outside into the fresh morning air. The ride to Maple Street was filled with chatter from the backseat. Jake's skateboard bounced in harmony with their excitement, and Lily began to ask questions about the letters she imagined were waiting inside the trunk. "What do you think they'll say?" Jake tossed out. "I think they'll be about the adventures Grandpa went on." "And how he loved you both so much," Sarah added quietly, her voice tinged with a sadness she tried to shake off. When they finally arrived, the historic house loomed before them, a sprawling structure draped in mystery. The front door stood open, welcoming those brave enough to enter. A small crowd lingered outside, eyes wide with curiosity, but Sarah felt as if she stood on the edge of a precipice, ready to jump. "Remember, we stick together," she reminded the kids, trying to infuse confidence into her words. Jake nodded, his hand slipping into hers, while Lily took her other hand, anchoring her to the present. As they stepped inside, the air felt thick with old memories. Dust particles danced lazily in the beams of light that filtered through the windows. The wood creaked beneath their feet, and Sarah's heart pounded louder with each step deeper into the house. "Over there," Jake pointed, to a room on the left where a small gathering had formed, people leaning into each other, whispering excitedly. A makeshift display held casual photography and various trinkets, evidence of the house's long-lost life. But Sarah's eyes were immediately drawn to a corner, where a wooden trunk sat in isolation, bathed in soft sunlight as if it were waiting just for her. "Mom, that's it!" Lily exclaimed, tugging her towards the trunk. They wove through the crowd, Sarah's pulse quickening as they neared, her fingers trembling with anticipation. Standing before it felt surreal. The trunk was worn, the latch rusted but still intact. A piece of her father's life stood right in front of her, begging to be opened. But what lay within? The answer she had yearned for, or a painful reminder of loss? As she knelt down, the world around her faded into silence. It felt as if time stood still. With a deep breath, she reached for the latch, her heart racing between hope and dread. But then doubt crept in again, freezing her movements. Could she really handle whatever secrets this chest might unveil? In that moment, she heard Jake utter softly, "Mom, I'm here." His words broke through the fog, filling her with warmth. "You're right, sweetheart," she finally whispered, determination mixing with her fear. What would she discover today? The trunk held secrets, but it also promised the chance to connect with the man she had lost so long ago.
As Sarah lifted the latch, a rush of musty air enveloped her, mingling with the warmth from the sunlight pouring over the trunk.
The scent was familiar, the kind of smell that spoke of forgotten moments and old adventures. Her heart hammered in her chest. What lay inside could change everything. She peered into the trunk. Mixed within layers of faded clothes and neatly folded linens were photographs, loose letters, and a small wooden box that caught her eye. She reached for the photographs first, her fingers trembling as she sifted through them. There was her father, younger, with laughter in his eyes, bundled in a thick coat beside a woman Sarah didn't recognize. Their arms were around one another, giving off a warmth that felt electric. Beside them, the back of the photo had scribbles in her father's handwriting. "The love I found in the quiet moments." Tears pricked at Sarah's eyes. Who was this woman? A past she didn't know about? "Mom, look!" Jake pointed eagerly at a small letter poking out from the side. With her heart racing, Sarah pulled it free and unfolded it carefully. The paper crackled between her fingers. "To my dearest," it began, and the familiar, elegant penmanship sent another wave of nostalgia washing over her. The letter spoke of love and longing, memories of a life before everything changed. "I miss you every day," it read. "Our dreams may seem lost, but hope always remains in our hearts." Kneeling beside the trunk, Sarah felt an aching kinship with the words. The letter whispered secrets from a time she had yet to understand. She glanced back at her kids. Lily was leaning in closer, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Can I read it?" Lily asked, glancing between her mother and the letter. Sarah hesitated, then nodded. "Sure, but it's personal, about a part of Grandpa's life that I'm just discovering." Lily took it gingerly, her small fingers dancing over the inked words as she read them aloud. Her voice was soft, almost reverent. "He was so brave, Mom. Did you know he felt like this?" Jake leaned in too, fascinated. "Wow, who's the lady?" Sarah's breath was shallow, a knot tightened in her chest. I don't know yet." As Lily focused on her reading, Sarah's gaze drifted back into the trunk. She spotted the small wooden box again, carved delicately with lines and shapes. Taking a deep breath, she lifted it out, feeling its weight in her hands. It felt heavier than it looked, the lid snug but not locked. "What's this?" she murmured, more to herself than anyone. Hesitation washed over her. What if it held something that would crack open more than just her father's memories? "Open it, Mom," Jake urged, excitement tinged with impatience. Closing her eyes for a brief moment, Sarah summoned her courage. She carefully pried the box open. Inside lay a collection of small keepsakes, each item telling its own story. A compass with a tiny scratch on its surface, a silver locket that shimmered even in the dim light, and a map with old routes crisscrossing like veins across a heart. Beneath it all, a folded piece of paper sat waiting. With trembling hands, Sarah lifted it, her breath hitching as she unfolded, and read words that made her pulse quicken. "Find the places where our memories take root," it said. "They will guide you to what you seek." What could this mean? Was there a hidden trail her father wanted her to pursue? Or was it all part of a dream that felt just out of reach? As the kids watched her, their eyes filled with questions, Sarah felt a mix of hope and apprehension blooming within her. Could she handle whatever revelations lay ahead? What doors had she just opened? She looked back at the trunk, feeling the pull of the past intertwine with her present. This was no longer just about closure. It was about embarking on an adventure she never expected. And as the hushed crowd in the room buzzed around them, Sarah realized this journey had only just begun. What new truths awaited in the shadows of her family's history? Sarah's heart raced as she stared at the map. The faded ink revealed places she had never heard of, flickers of places that might hold the keys to her father's past. Each dot and line felt like a thread pulling her deeper into a narrative that had long been tucked away. Lily's wide eyes reflected her mother's uncertainty. "Can we go there, Mom?" she asked, her voice filled with eager hope. Jake chimed in. "Yeah, what if it leads to answers, to that lady?" There was a moment of silence as Sarah considered their words. While uncertainty churned within her, a spark of adventure ignited in her heart. I don't know yet," she said slowly, "but we will find out together." As she held the map up to the light, Sarah could see tiny faded marks. Some were crossed out, as if a journey had begun and then stopped. Her fingers traced the lines, and with each touch, she felt a connection to her father that had been missing for so long. "What if this is what he meant?" she murmured, half to herself. "He wanted us to seek out these memories, to understand him fully."
Jake leaned closer, curiosity etched on his face. But where do we start? The map showed an old county, not too far from where they lived. It felt like the beginning of something, like the first chapter in a book begging to be read. I think we should start at this place. She pointed to a location that was marked with a tiny star. It looks pretty remote, Jake observed, his brow scrunching in thought. One step at a time, Sarah reminded him with an encouraging smile. Adventures don't always follow the easiest routes. Lily's enthusiasm bubbled over. Let's plan a trip. It'll be fun. As the children's excitement filled the room, Sarah felt a mix of apprehension and hope. Her father had left breadcrumbs, and now it was her turn to follow them. She couldn't ignore the feeling that this exploration might help her piece together fragments of a past that had been shadowy for too long. Let's gather some supplies, Sarah said, her voice growing more assured. We can start early tomorrow.
The kids jumped up, buzzing with adrenaline. They scattered about the house, gathering flashlights, snacks, and their father's old camping gear, the same gear that had lain untouched for years. The simple act felt like a rediscovery, binding the three of them closer, stitching together their grieving hearts with hope. As she watched them, laughter bouncing off the walls, Sarah realized that this wasn't just about her father anymore. It was about creating a lifeline between generations, forging new memories with her children, and seeking understanding within herself. And deep down, she felt an undeniable truth. They were standing at the precipice of something profound. The words, "Find the places where our memories take root," echoed in her mind, urging them forward into the unknown. "What if we find something life-changing?" Jake asked as they sprawled out their camping supplies. "Then we embrace it," Sarah replied, a smile creeping across her face, despite the fear that lingered in her heart. "We make it part of our story." Just then, Lily held up an old Polaroid camera. "We should take pictures of our adventure." "Yes, document everything," Sarah agreed, excitement spilling into her voice. But even as the thrill of the journey washed over them, another thought lingered in Sarah's mind. The unanswered questions, the mystery of the woman in the photographs. What had her father hidden, and why? As they settled in for the night, the thrill of the impending adventure mixed with the weight of the unknown. Sarah's mind was a flurry of possibilities. What awaited at that first location? Would they discover the truths her father kept buried? She clutched the map tightly, close to her heart, whispering, "Tomorrow." Little did she know, the journey would reveal far more than merely memories. As she drifted into sleep, one lingering thought plagued her. What would they find when they reached those places, and would they be prepared for whatever truths awaited them? The morning sun peeked through the curtains, warming Sarah's face. She stirred, awakening to the joyful chaos of her children. Jake was already dressed, his eyes sparkling with excitement as he bounced on his toes. Lily was rummaging through a backpack, carefully selecting each item as if it were a treasure. "Mom, are you ready?" Jake shouted, his voice bursting with enthusiasm. Sarah sat up, her heart swelling at their energy. "Just give me a few minutes," she called back, throwing on a t-shirt that still carried the scent of her late husband. Today marked the start of a journey, not just to an unknown place, but into the depths of her family's history. She made her way to the kitchen, where she could almost feel the remnants of her father's presence as she poured coffee, inhaling the familiar aroma. It felt like a connection, a sign that he was still with them in spirit. Would he guide them through the day? Lily appeared, her hair a tousled mess, but her smile was bright. "I made you guys sandwiches, beef jerky, granola bars, and even those apple slices you like, and I took the job of packing the camera." "Looks like we're all set," Jake said, giving his sister a thumbs up. The kids had truly embraced the adventure, and it reminded Sarah of how resilient they all had been together since their loss. Once they were loaded into the car, the weight of their destination sat heavily in the silence that settled around them. As they drove, the landscape flashed by, trees, fields, and the distant outline of mountains. Each mile closer to the little star on the map felt like a heartbeat, quicker, more intense. "Do you think we'll meet the lady?" Lily asked from the back seat, her voice breaking through Sarah's thoughts. "I hope so," Sarah replied, turning the wheel with determination. She honestly didn't know what to expect, but the idea of finally finding someone who held pieces of her father's life made her pulse quicken. "There's a lot we don't know," Jake added thoughtfully, looking out the window as the scenery changed. Yeah, but that's what makes it exciting, Lily cheered. If we find her, maybe she can tell us what he was like before anything happened. Briefly, Sarah's heart ached, the raw edges of loss catching her off guard. Yet there was also a flicker of hope, a chance to understand the life her father lived before they lost him. Time seemed to blur as they neared their destination. Maps gave way to dirt roads, and the air grew cooler. The little village loomed ahead, suffused with a warmth that felt inviting. "We're here," she announced, surprising the kids with excitement. They parked in front of a weathered community hall that exuded stories of the past. Old photographs adorned the walls, and names long forgotten were etched into wooden planks. Sarah stepped out, heart pounding. "Okay, team, let's go find some answers." As they approached the entrance, a soft voice called out, "Can I help you?" An elderly woman, her hair silver and spirit vibrant, stood with a welcoming smile. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Could this be the woman from the photograph? Yes, she managed to stammer, as Jake and Lily edged closer, wide-eyed. "I'm looking for information about my father." The lady's expression shifted, and for a moment it seemed she recognized that name. "What was his name, dear?" "David," Sarah said, instantly feeling the weight of memories pressing around her, turning this ordinary day into something monumental. The woman's eyes filled with warmth and understanding, and she took a small step forward. "David. Oh, I remember him well." Time stood still. This was it. This could change everything. But just as Sarah prepared for the revelation, there was a tremor in the air, a silence that promised something significant. What truths lay just beneath the surface of the woman's gaze? As the kids glanced back at her, anticipation thrumming in the air, she could only wonder what kind of history was about to unfurl. Would it pull apart the fragments of her past yet again, leaving her gasping? Or would it weave new meaning into her family story? This was just the beginning of their journey. The elderly woman's smile deepened, as if it were a doorway slightly ajar, inviting Sarah inside a world of memories long buried. "Oh dear, you have his eyes," she said, her voice laced with nostalgia. "His eyes?" Sarah echoed, her heartbeat quickening. The kindness in the woman's gaze seemed to flicker with recognition. "What do you mean?" "David was a remarkable man," she replied, her expression turning thoughtful, as if she were gathering the pieces of a precious tapestry. He cared deeply for this community, but he had his secrets too. Jake and Lily exchanged glances, sensing the shift in the air. Each word hung like a faint echo, swirling around them. Sarah drew a breath, bracing herself. "Secrets?" The woman nodded, her smile fading momentarily, replaced with a serious look. "He was always good in hiding his pain, but I think he would want you to know the truth." A chill ran through Sarah. Would this truth be as comforting as she hoped, or would it unveil wounds that had never fully healed? "May I take you to the cafe?" the woman asked, gesturing to a nearby establishment bursting with charm. "It's quieter there, and I can share stories. You'll understand your father in a way I hope will make you proud." "Okay," Sarah replied, glancing at her kids. They seemed just as eager, curiosity bubbling to the surface. She nodded, and together they walked a few steps toward the cafe, the air buzzing with unspoken thoughts. Inside, the cozy room was filled with the soft murmur of patrons sipping on steaming mugs. Sarah felt a familiar warmth seep into her bones as they settled around a wooden table. The aroma of freshly baked pie drifted from the counter, and for a moment it nearly drowned her anxiety. "Your father was a craftsman," the woman began, her eyes sparkling with memories. "He built furniture, you know, beautiful things that had character. But more than that, he built a community. Many of us owe our homes to his generous spirit. He was a gentle soul." As the woman spoke, flashes of her father's laugh and the way he used to caress the wood as he worked flooded Sarah's mind. She could almost feel him beside her, a comforting presence. But he faced challenges too. He fell in love with someone who wasn't accepted by some people in town, she continued cautiously.
It tore him apart. I think that pain pushed him into himself, left him battling his demons alone. He always tried to be strong for you. Tears threatened to spill from Sarah's eyes. This wasn't exactly how she envisioned their journey would unfold, but there was something cathartic about the truth. The secrets felt like pieces of a puzzle falling into a place she never knew existed. So he was in love? Lily asked, awed. But who? The woman hesitated, resolutely staring out the window as if summoning names from the winds. A girl named Maria, she began slowly. She was lovely and full of life, but her family, they never approved. It was a different time then. The name hit Sarah like a wave, its softness belying a weight it carried. Names invoked emotions, stories that shimmered alongside the joy and sorrow. "Do you think I could meet someone who knew her?" Sarah whispered, her heart racing. The silver-haired woman nodded. "Of course. If you want to, I can take you to see her. It might help you find even more connection." With a heavy breath, Sarah squeezed her children's hands. The weight of the questions on her heart seemed to tremble at the edge of possibility. Would finding Maria help close a chapter on her father's life, or open new ones that had long been waiting? The air turned electric as Sarah considered her next move. They hadn't signed up for this journey expecting heartbreak or hope, but as she looked into the eyes of her children, she knew they were ready to dive deeper. "Let's meet her," Sarah decided, determination swelling inside her. "I want to know everything." And as she made that commitment, something inside her shifted. Maybe this journey would be about more than just understanding the past. Perhaps it could help her heal, for her father, for herself, and for her children. As they left the cafe, the sun dipped slightly, casting a golden hue over the village. Sarah felt the weight of the world shift, but now it felt lighter somehow. What awaited them in the next chapter of their family story? With every step, she swallowed a mixture of anxiety and hope. What would they learn from Maria? Would it reshape their understanding of David entirely? These questions hung heavy in the air, waiting to be answered. As Sarah and her children followed the elderly woman down a scenic path, anticipation pulsed through the air. The sun wove golden strands through the trees, casting a warm glow over the three of them. The village, once an uncharted territory, felt like home, the home of stories waiting to be uncovered. Jake walked ahead of Sarah and Lily, his curious eyes scanning for signs of adventure. "Do you think Maria is still nice?" he asked over his shoulder, breaking the silence. "I hope so," Sarah replied, her heart racing at the thought. The more she learned about her father, the more intricate the web of love and loss grew. Today felt monumental, a turning point that could lead them back to their roots. As they approached an unassuming house, the woman paused. "Here we are," she announced, a sweet smile lighting her face. The porch creaked softly underfoot, and as Sarah stepped closer, she felt a pull in her heart. This was a house filled with memories, hers and her father's woven together across time.
An elderly woman opened the door. The sight of her sent a jolt through Sarah. Maria was as beautiful as the photograph suggested, though unmistakably older. The lines on her face told stories of laughter and tears. "Hello, dear," Maria greeted, her voice warm like the first light of dawn. "I heard we'd be having visitors." "Maria, this is Sarah, David's daughter," the elderly woman introduced them gently. Maria's eyes widened as they locked onto Sarah's. In that moment, the world faded away. "David," she murmured, her voice trailing off. "I didn't think I'd see any of his family ever again." Sarah's emotions churned. "I've come to find out about him, about us," she confessed, her voice shaking slightly. "I want to understand who he was before everything happened." The kindness behind Maria's eyes deepened, and she ushered them inside. The living room was filled with trinkets and memories. The scent of fresh flowers mingled with the aroma of brewed tea. Sarah felt an odd sense of familiarity here, as if she were walking into a haven of forgotten love. "Let me tell you about the man I loved," Maria began, her voice growing strong as Sarah and her children settled around her. David was passionate, driven, someone who understood the beauty in the world and wanted to share it. We had dreams. Sarah listened intently. A warm glow swirled in her chest as Maria spoke. "But we faced obstacles too. His family, they just didn't understand." Maria's voice cracked slightly, and she paused, collecting herself. He was torn between love and duty. One day, he just vanished from my life. Tears filled Maria's eyes as she continued recounting memories, secret rendezvous in meadows, laughter echoing in the moonlight, and moments of joy shared over cups of coffee. He always thought of you, you know, she added, her voice thick with emotion. He carried you in his heart, even when life became too much to bear. Sarah nodded, feeling an ache deep within her. It's hard to understand how someone could leave, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The rawness as the truth cut deep, yet she felt a sense of healing starting to bloom. Maria leaned closer, a comforting smile brightening her face. Sometimes people don't leave by choice. Sometimes the world becomes too heavy. Jake chimed in. Did Grandpa ever talk about us? Did he miss us like we miss him? Tears shimmered in Maria's eyes again. Every day, I promise you that. He wanted you to have the life he couldn't provide. The weight of every unanswered question started to dissolve under the warmth of shared understanding. Sarah felt a connection to her father unfold, his struggles, his dreams, and the love he had harbored despite the distance. They were unwinding a history that had woven itself into their fabric. I've carried this heavy heart for so long, Sarah admitted, her voice trembling as realization dawned. But hearing your story, this understanding, it makes the ache feel different.
I think it helps me forgive him. Maria reached across the table, squeezing Sarah's hand gently. Understanding is a powerful step towards healing. As the afternoon passed, laughter echoed in the cozy home. Stories of David's hopeful younger years entwined with joyful memories they shared together as a family. Sarah's heart began to mend, piece by piece. When it was finally time to leave, the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange. But as Sarah gazed back at the warm glow of Maria's home, she found herself at peace. Thank you for everything, Sarah said, her heart full. I think I finally know my father. Together, they walked back, hand in hand, as the sun set behind them. The journey had transformed them in ways they never expected. As Sarah felt the warmth of her children beside her, she could see a brighter path ahead, one born not from loss, but from understanding, love, and an undying connection to their family story. And in that moment, she knew that they were ready to face the world together. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for the journey. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this heartwarming conclusion. What did it mean to you? And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the love and healing.